Now, let us proceed to our second speaker. She's actually a certified integrative nutrition health coach by the Institute of Integrative Nutrition USA, or IIN. She is the owner and founder of the Fit Foodie Mommy blog, www.thefitfoodiemommy.com. She is also a wife, a mama, holistic living expert, recipe writer, wellness educator who is based in Melbourne, Australia. She shares health recipes, lifestyle, and nutrition tips and offers online clean and eating wellness programs for individuals and organizations as well. She's also a passionate mom entrepreneur and business coach. She's on a mission to empower women and moms to not just take charge of their health, but also to lead a purpose driven life and meaningful career. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Miss Tara Tan.
Ayan. So, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, fellow Cebuanos, or wherever you are watching. Thank you so much for having me, and really thrilled to be sharing and giving value to fellow Cebuanos. I'm here over in Melbourne, Australia, but I feel super at home. So, first of all, I want to thank the organizers of this very enriching workshop and webinar. Of course, the Green Table PH. Then we have also Sir Benny, Aaron, and also thank you, President Felix, and also, of course, to one of my idols when it comes to sustainability. I've only met her a few weeks back, but I'm just astounded with how much knowledge and expertise that she has shared. I'm taking down notes from Architect Joy's webinar earlier, so I hope you guys have also taken notes. And because this is all about you, right? And this is why we're all here today. So my topic is kind of related for sure when it comes to healthier homes, right? Because Architect Joy was talking about how we should design our homes. Now, I think we also should design the way we eat and also the way we live. So first, before I move on to the topic, which is all about healthier food swaps, I really just wanted to get a feel of you guys here, right? Like we have the chat box there, and definitely I'd love to know, like from your experience as well, what questions you have, or maybe what challenges do you have in terms of living healthy at home, especially right now, right? Lalo na with when COVID hit us, it has been very difficult. So for me naman, like the I guess the reason why the Fit Foodie Mommy was born, just a little background on how it all started. I wasn't a nutrition expert before, and I still am learning right now. And the reason was when we really moved here in Melbourne, we came from Singapore. We lived there for about 9 years. I was in the corporate world. And then, of course, when I became a mom, I think there are moms in the house. Raise your hands, mga mommies, or even dads, right? Like parenthood is really tough. And I think that was the reason why I turned to taking care of my health, physically, mentally, emotionally, because I just felt so drained. I think like, there was a time when I just was always exhausted, like chronically fatigued. And yeah, and my son was only 2 years old when we moved here in Melbourne, Australia. And it's very different because in Singapore, my yaya. So when we moved here, walang yaya. So I had to do everything from the cleaning, the changing nappies and the cooking. And as in, it was so exhausting. And I turned to taking care of my health first because I realized that I could never be a better mom if I'm not a healthier mom, right? So, and I think that has always been my advocacy, and the Fit Foodie Mommy was born out of that one, to be able to show up for my son, but first having to show up for myself. So, and I think that's what I wanted to impart today, that you can be healthy in your own way, right? Like it doesn't have to be always what you read in the textbook. And I think that is something I want to ask you, right? Like if you can put it down in the comments below, what does healthy mean to you? If you can just sum it up in a word, put it down, like, or maybe if you have a notepad, or if you're shy, maybe just think about it. Like, what does healthy mean to you? Maybe for some, it could be healthier eating, right? Maybe adding more plants into your diet. For some, it could be peace of mind, right? Like I can see in the chat box, some people say, not getting sick. Yeah, I think that's the most common definition of health, right? Like the absence of disease. But especially during this time, diba? Like sometimes even if you're eating your salads, drinking your juice, how come you sometimes don't feel your best? Raise your hand if you sometimes feel that way, right? Like I feel that way sometimes, right? Like I try to really eat healthy, but especially during this time, the anxiety, the worry, tama ba? Like anyone can relate to that, right? Like not being able to sleep well or maybe not being able to move. Yeah, so I can see a lot of answers now coming in. Healthy means happiness and much love. I really love these words and ideas that come from you, because health is more than just food. It's beyond the plate, right? Like for sure, my background is around integrative nutrition, and that is really food, which is considered not actually secondary food. The food on your plate is just secondary food. And I'm going to talk a little about primary food, which is the real food or the real energy sources. You might be surprised, it's not the kale, it's not the broccoli that gives you the most energy, in fact. But I want to introduce this concept around bioindividuality. And the reason I asked a while ago about what healthy means to you, if you notice, you have different definitions. For some, it means fulfillment, satisfaction, and much to my surprise, not everyone really talks about exercise and food, right? And that is really the essence of health that we want to talk about, especially during this pandemic. Yes, we watch what we eat, but also think about, what does healthy mean to you? What does healthy mean to your husband, to your kids? Because they would have their own definition of health as well. And bioindividuality just means that there is no one diet or lifestyle that works for everyone. There's no one way cookie cutter. In the same way that what Architect Joy was talking about, there's no one way of building a healthy home, right? Like it varies. It depends on the location. It depends on the preferences. It depends on your lifestyle. In the same way, someone, let's say, even your best friend, if let's say she goes through a particular diet, diba? I mean, very common these days, a keto diet. You probably have seen that, a lot of those trends. And what I often see with some of my clients is that they get very frustrated when those type of diets don't work for them. And they sometimes blame themselves, like thinking about, what is wrong with me? How come this diet is not working while all my other friends are like losing pounds, right? Like it has nothing to do with you. So I'm just going to bust the myth that it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just that the diet isn't working for you. It's because you have unique needs, and you will have your own way of eating and living that works best for you. It's not even me who can tell you what you eat best. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you actually like 10 food swaps, some healthy alternatives that you can try at home, but it goes without saying that you have to try everything, right? Like consider it as a buffet, and then you're just going to choose which you feel really works for you, right? So I hope that this kind of really resonates with you, because in my own practice as well, I'm more of the flexitarian. People ask me, am I vegan, or am I more like not eating animal food at all? So for me, I'm more of the flexitarian or the qualitarian. So really going more for intuitive eating and really listening to my body instead of listening to what others or what the fad, the diets, the trends are saying these days. So shifting gears a bit, I wanted to also touch about primary food. And probably this is the first time you've heard of it. And when I first came across it, I was like, ano ba yung primary food? And this is what I always teach my clients, because it is very important, right? Like we go back to the idea that there's non-food elements. And I'm going to introduce you later about of course, the secondary food. But for a few minutes, I wanted to invite you to think about these 4 elements in your health. And the primary food, this talks about these 4 things. These are the non-food areas of our life that actually gives you sources of energy. Your career, your relationships, your physical activity, and your spirituality. So your career, think about, am I living a purposeful profession, or am I happy with my job right now? Am I serving the community that I love? Think about that for a moment. Relationships, think about, how's your relationship, not just intimacy, but also about You can actually hear my son on the back. Mom life. So relationships would be about, how you relate to your coworkers, even how you relate to your colleagues, even to your boss or to your team, and of course to your family, right? To your significant others. Your physical activity, think about how are you moving these days, especially ngayon, di ba? We're all kind of stuck at home, safe at home, but we find that more and more we actually crave for movement. Haven't you noticed? How come before that, people weren't in quarantine? How come people don't really seek movement? But now that we're home, we're actually like looking for ways to actually move. And that's because, again, like our bodies are very intelligent. It actually tells us that, hey, you need to move. You need to step out of your room for a moment and just move. And the last is spirituality. And it's not just about being religious, but this is really talking about how interconnected you are with your inner self. Do you find yourself also having quiet time, or maybe just going out in nature and just having that sense of gratitude, and just being thankful and being appreciative of the beautiful life that we have. So think about this for a second, and you might think, how does this connect with the secondary food or the food in the plate? I'm going to show you in a little while. But think about this for a moment, and I want for you to kind of do a mental assessment. You can just rate 1 to 10 for each of these aspects. Where are you right now? Like your career, 1 being the lowest or 10 being the highest, your relationship, your physical activity, and spirituality. Where are you thriving right now? If you're happy to share that in the comments, go ahead. We're here to learn, and we're all here in a very non-judgmental learning space. So, and also think about, where do you think you want to work on, especially during this pandemic? Which areas do you feel that you lack in that space? Do you really want to strive moving forward? So I can see some comments. 0304. I want to work on the physical activity. I'm with you on that, Rose. Like lalo na right now, right? Like as what I mentioned, and it doesn't mean you have to go out and do a lot of gym workouts. No, you can simply just do some movement that's more intentional and really gives you energy. So think about that. And we switch gears a bit because the primary food actually interrelates. It's very interdependent when it comes to what you're eating. So now let's talk about the food, the real food, which is the food, because that one is more the soul food, and this is the food on your plate. So think about right now, if you have, if you have a pen and paper, illustrate what you ate last night, or maybe this lunch, or think about for the past 2 days, what have you been eating? No judgment, just think about kind of like a food diary. This is what I always encourage you to do. So if you feel like, how come, I'm not getting enough energy, or maybe I'm not getting the goals that I want, think about having a food diary. And this is the first step. It's really about awareness. What have you been eating, and how have you been feeling? And the most common question I get often asked is, how do you build a well-balanced meal, right? Or a well-balanced plate. So this is a very, very simple food guide, and it's called the Integrative Nutrition Food Guide. You can take a screenshot of it, but this would be a great comparison as to where you are in terms of building a well-balanced plate. And as you can see there, if that's your plate, ideally half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. And in fact, a bigger portion of it should be vegetables, and not just a vegetable na isang type lang na all broccoli and you're good with it. But the idea is to aim for at least 30 types of plants, and that includes legumes, your whole grains, and even your plant proteins, which I'm going to share in a little while. Some examples you can try at home. But think about that for a second, and again, try to compare where you are at right now. If you feel like baliktad, yung fruits and vegetables mo, baka as in sobrang kakarampot lang, well, the bigger part is like a lot of animal food, and perhaps it's also time to kind of reevaluate. And if you look at around the plate, there's your primary food, right? And so how does this interrelate? It's what we're saying is that there has to be a balance. So it's not just about what you're eating, it's also about how you live, what you eat, what you think, what you say, how you feel, how you move, right? And really how you rest. Even rest is very important. And we also have there water, and of course, fats and oils. So how to use this one is, again, have an assessment and try to think about one or two things that you can change or maybe you can improve. I'm not asking you to entirely like do a kitchen makeover, but go slow. For me, I really just started with, for example, switching into whole grain. So switching to brown rice, or maybe to instead of having always white rice, basmati rice. So I'm gonna give you a few tips in a while, talking about food swaps. But I want to bring your attention when it comes to carbs, because there's always this bad reputation of carbs, right? People think that carbs are bad. Well, carbs are not created equal, and carbs are very important because that is the source of energy. But for us, what we want to focus on would be complex carbs, and these are your whole, your natural foods, the unrefined, and also the unprocessed. And my aim is to educate you in some of the healthier alternatives, but you can, still enjoy your pizzas, your pastas, your cakes, because we don't want to deprive ourselves of food, right? Like food has to be enjoyed, but there are healthier swaps that you can do. Another thing to think about is our sugar consumption, right? Like raise your hand if you have been struggling when it comes to taking in sugar or controlling sugar cravings, lalo na during this pandemic. So when you have, let's say, a glass of or a can of soda, think about for a second that when you have a 32 ounces of sports drink, for example, that's about 52 grams of sugar, and 1 gram is about 4 grams of sugar is about a teaspoon of sugar. So if you have that mental thought, I'm sure every time you have that can of soda, you'll think twice, or you probably won't even drink that anymore. Maybe just have a sip, right, instead of having to gulp down an entire can. Or let's say a candy bar is about 24 grams of sugar, or that's about 6 teaspoons of sugar. And for ice cream, for example, that's about, you have there 28 grams of sugar, so that's about 7 teaspoons of sugar. So what is the recommended intake, the maximum intake of sugar, which is recommended by the American Health Association, is only about 6 teaspoons of sugar for women a day. Okay, that's like the max, like really the maximum. But I think the average person can kind of consume like more than 19 or even 20 teaspoons of sugar a day. And there's, sugar is like hidden anywhere, in ketchup, in sauces, in marinades, which is why my first tip is always read the labels. Always like flip the back of your ingredients, and think about the lesser ingredients there is, the better. All right, so let's get on to it. So I'm going to be going quick with this one, because most of which probably are self-explanatory, and I'm going to show you some examples I have here, which is why I'm in my kitchen. So the first thing is go for natural sweeteners and also unprocessed flours. So my favorite when it comes to natural sweeteners would be pure honey. And I think this is very abundant there in Cebu, which is great. And also pure maple syrup. So how do you know it's pure? Read the labels. It should only doesn't have like thickening agents. And you would really, really taste the difference as well. And these are considered like more low glycemic, especially coconut sugar. So it really just comes from coconut. I love using this in baking. So this can substitute any sugar like white sugar, or also brown sugar. So for the flour, I always use almond meal. So almond meal, this is really just from ground almonds. You can also use coconut flour, also tapioca flour for your baking. And high in fiber, and they're low glycemic. So meaning it doesn't spike up your sugar levels. Now, the second is non-dairy milk. The thing is, because a lot of people have inflammation when they take cow's milk, especially for those who are lactose intolerant, or for me, I just feel that I get very bloated. So I always go for almond milk. I sometimes make my own milk. The recipe that I have is down there below, which is very easy. Just go for raw cashews. You soak the cashews overnight, and then you in the morning just rinse the cashews, and then you add like your filtered water, put it in a high speed blender, and that will be your nut milk. You don't even need a strainer if you have a very powerful blender. So that's what I use. You can also use soy milk, but if you're going for soy milk, ideally you should go for organic soy milk. And then also I love coconut milk, like in curries, and you can even use that for overnight oats. The third alternative is quinoa, right? Like, so raise your hand if you have tried quinoa. Quinoa is not a cereal. It's actually considered a pseudo cereal, but it is a great replacement for rice for those of you who are like conscious in your carb intake. And you can even use it for porridge, for salads, and it's so, so easy to make. And I know some people might say it's a tad more expensive. It is a bit more expensive, but the health benefits are priceless. It's high in fiber, and again, it's also low glycemic. The next one is cauliflower. So have you tried cauliflower rice? Anyone here has tried that? So if you find that quinoa is expensive, then I would suggest cauliflower instead. So what you can do is just process the cauliflower so it comes into this rice texture, and it can be considered as your rice. You probably have seen that in a lot of like gluten-free or keto recipes. So that's a great alternative. You treat it as like your rice, like when you do fried rice. So cauliflower is the best substitute for that. You can even substitute your potatoes with cauliflower if you want like a cauliflower mash. A great way to get some more. And cauliflower, they're high in fiber, high in B vitamins, and it's actually considered one of those vegetables that are anti-cancer, right? Same as broccoli and all the other green leafy vegetables as well. Then Greek yogurt. So that's my other pantry staple. Now, my tip when you're picking for Greek yogurt or plain yogurt, go for full fat. Okay, don't go for the low fat. Some people think that low fat is healthier, but for yogurt, what other manufacturers will do is that they would bump up, let's say, the thickeners to compensate for the flavor because it doesn't have fat in it. So it may actually have a lot of sugar in it as well. So apart from Greek yogurt, I love also using hummus. So hummus is just made from chickpeas or garbanzo beans. So it's great to use in salads and also in dressings and also for a toast. So instead of your usual butter, you can actually use hummus as well. So it's widely used in Mediterranean diets, and we all know Mediterranean diet is one of the healthiest diets out there. Lettuce. So you can't just eat lettuce for salads. You can actually use lettuce instead of tortilla wraps or bread, right? So instead of having two sliced breads, maybe you'll have one of which is the lettuce, and then the bottom would be the bread. So it's almost like your lettuce tacos. That's what you have in there in the photo. And then go for dark chocolate, at least 70%, or raw cacao. And that would be a great source of antioxidants. And we all know that chocolate is a great booster for mood as well. So there's enough scientific evidence around consuming the dark chocolate or raw cacao. Well, in Cebu, I'm sure, diba, the tablia, and I miss that because we don't have that here. But that would be your purest form of chocolate. So go, right, eat your champurrado with it. And use coconut oil or olive oil for cooking and baking. Now, the thing to note is that olive oil, ideally, if you're cooking, don't do it for deep frying because it has a very low boiling point. Use coconut oil instead if you're like really frying. Well, the best part is maybe don't do a lot of frying, right? Maybe just shallow frying instead. And where's number 9? And then plant proteins to replace your meat, like tofu, lentils, chickpeas. I also love black beans. So these are great sources of protein and high in fiber as well. And it can act as your meat. So instead of, let's say, if you're having bolognese, then you can use black beans or lentils instead, and to replace your meat, or maybe half lang muna, right? And maybe just gradually increase it as you go, because a lot of people tend to feel gassy when they have beans. I always go for the cooked beans, and I think you can widely access this in some of the groceries. But make sure that you really cook it very well. Same goes with the cauliflower as well. And swap your soda drinks with smoothies, right? Green table, and sparkling plain water. So when you go for sparkling plain water, like make sure again, no added. Always read the labels, guys. Like flip your packaging and read the ingredients labels. And if there's an ingredient there that you don't recognize, then most likely your body will. Simple as that. So that's my 10 swaps. Are there? Yes, munggos, mung beans, definitely. I'm all for mung beans. I actually have that in my pantry, you can also go for that one, but always in moderation, right? Because I know some people might have concerns on baka ano siya, high in uric and all of that one. So and even for the cruciferous vegetables, I know some people wouldn't be able to consume as much. Always in moderation, and always yes, always take into consideration. So I'm gonna share with you, like, you can take a snapshot of this recipe. We don't have time to do a demo, but just want to share this one because a lot of the times people always say, you know, healthy eating is difficult, or it's time consuming, right? Or it's expensive. So I want to debunk that myth and start with something simple. Start with maybe prepping your breakfast instead of always just going for the pandesal. And I love pandesal, don't get me wrong. I bake my bread, in fact. But a lot of times, if you're just using white flour in your bread, it's very high glycemic index. So that means it does spike your insulin levels. And what you always find is madali kang magutom, right? It's a vicious cycle. Kaka-breakfast mo pa lang, gutom ka na naman, right? So if you want something that's really nourishing and filling, then I would suggest overnight oats and chia pudding. So here's the recipe. And I've actually already made it here. So it's how it looks like. You can go to my website, thefitfoodiemommy.com. There's a lot of recipes in there. And I do a lot of videos as well in my Instagram. So you can see how I make it. And it's very easy, guys. Like I always do this on the weekend. I make like a big batch. And this stays in the fridge for about 4 days. And you can have different toppings, apples, mangoes, whatever, bananas. And it's also kid friendly. All you have to do is just mix everything in a jar. And this is a recycled jar, by the way. So always think green. And yeah, you store it in the fridge. It's as easy as that one. Screenshot that one if you want to try it out. And if you do, always tag me. Let me know how it goes. The other one is also chia pudding. Now, chia seeds are great alternative for low carb. And it's also very high in fiber. If you're feeling, I don't want oats because it's carbs, right? But oh my goodness, like oats is one of the most nourishing and nutrient dense food that you can have in your pantry. And it's great for weight balance for those of you who are thinking about that. But chia seeds is also another superfood. It's just a seed, but it's high in omega-3s, healthy fats. So you also feel full longer. So all you have to do is just mix all the ingredients. And that's how it looks like there, diba? It looks like dessert for breakfast, but it's low carb and it's high in fiber and also high in protein. All right, so I'm actually going to wrap this up now. And I want to ask you, like, what food swap would you like to try at home? I'd love to know. Put it down in the comments below. And better yet, it's always great that after this workshop, maybe you can share with us, snap a photo, and always tag us anywhere. Now, I want to help you further, and I've got a lot of freebies. You can take a screenshot of that. You go to thefitfoodiemommy.com/resources, and those are all free. I've got like a free smoothies 101 guide. There's like 10 smoothie recipes in there, how to make the perfect smoothies, because I love smoothies. They're the best way to add nutrients and also fiber or veggies. If you hate veggies, like smoothies is the way to go. There's also 20 kid-friendly meal ideas you can find there, like most of which, if not all, have been tested by my 6-year-old. And there's also a 5-day meal plan for busy moms. So all of those are free for you. So I hope you enjoy that one. And again, let me know if you ever try those out. And for those of you who might want to work with me even further, you can also book a free consult with me. I do that just again to help people out when it comes to their health, or work with me for my nutrition coaching programs, or be part of my wellness cooking club as well. Because I think we can always change the world. We can change our health one meal at a time. So the links are there. And if you have any questions at all, like, feel free to reach out to me. I definitely love to help you. So with that, I just wanted to part this. I have a final thought for you, that every time we eat, we have the opportunity to nourish our body, right? As they say, eating healthy is an art. And you can always start something simple. Start with what you can do, and always involve your family as well. And with that, thank you so much for giving me the time to share. And I hope to connect with you further. Those are my social handles. You can find me on Instagram, or you can visit my also my website. And of course, the Green Table PH. It's also another platform where I share later on, we're gonna have like smoothie challenges in September as well. So stay tuned for that, and we'd love to have you there. So thank you, and I hope you have gotten some value from what I'm sharing. And yes, over to you, Aaron.